Hello guys and welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the new screenshot releases for the Dragonborn DLC for Skyrim. Right, so today is the 15th of November 2012 and Bethesda have released some screenshots of their new DLC for Skyrim, Dragonborn. So let's just do a brief overview. I believe that the game will at least have some orientation around the realm of Apocrypha, which is an Oblivion realm of the daedric prince Hermaeus Mora. We've got some monsters that I think we've seen before, a couple of better pictures of armors. We've got some Stalhrim Armour and bonemold armor. Then we just have a little brief overview of the Redoran architecture, the strange constructions which I think may have a possible link to the realm of Apocrypha, and then couple other pictures. One is of someone riding a dragon, and there's another picture which is a little bit boring, but it's Nordic people and a house and a fire and some fish. Right, so let's get down to the real meat of this video and let's discuss the realm of Apocrypha. The daedric prince Hermaeus Mora's plane of Oblivion is called Apocrypha. Some people have a misconception that where you went to in Elder Scrolls 4 was actually what Oblivion is. That's not the case. Where you went to in Oblivion was merely a realm of Oblivion, not Oblivion itself. Another example, in the Dawnguard DLC, we went to the realm of the Stalhrim, which actually doesn't have a daedric prince in charge of it, per my video though. Anyway, let's go back to why I believe we'll be going to Apocrypha. I think that we should start with the actual description of Apocrypha as per the lore. The lore states that the realm of Apocrypha is an endless library where all forbidden knowledge can be found. The books all have black covers with no titles, and the library is haunted by ghosts forever searching for knowledge. So you might be saying, well, why is that of any significance? None of these pictures have anything to do with the library. We can't see anything like that, which is true. There's nothing in there that looks like in a typical library. However, I believe that this is the Daedric Realm library, and if we look particularly at this image, you can notice that this structure here, we've got this structure, a sort of like a coil. But when we move on to this picture here, you can see that there's something falling from the coil. And when you have a look, them strange block-like things are actually books, bound in black. I believe it's pretty convincing stuff that will actually be going to the realm of Apocrypha. That's my first argument for why we're going to the realm of Apocrypha. I believe that this game will have a lot of links to the daedric prince Hermaeus Mora. Now why is that? Well, if we look at the description for Hermaeus Mora, according to the lore, unlike most princes, Hermaeus Mora does not take on human form at all, living instead as a grotesque green mass of tentacles. Now this image here, well, I'm going to come back to it, but I don't believe that this is actually Hermaeus himself, although it could well be. It may even be an ascended sleeper, but that's something we'll discuss a little bit later on. But what we can clearly see is that this creature here is a tentacly creature. You can see all the tentacles and hideous grotesqueness. Now, the third argument that I've got for linking this game to the realm of Apocrypha are the cultists. Now, we're going to come across these a little bit later, but if you look at the mask, you can see that they're very much tentacle shaped, and if we look at the mask of our good old friend the Dragonborn himself, you can see all of the tentacles, etc. Now some people have been saying that the Dragonborn himself will be Hermaeus Mora. I don't actually believe that. I don't think that will be the case. I think that if the introduction is telling the truth, that this guy will be the last remaining dragon priest, but he has maybe some pact with Hermaeus Mora, and maybe that's why he's gone crazy and evil. Lastly, coming back to the theme of Apocrypha and its library theme, we do actually have a very close-up image here of a book, which does seem to have some sort of link to the realm that is shown in the trailer video, as we can see here. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the arguments that I've put forward are fairly solid. Personally, I'm quite convinced of it. Anyway, let's move on. Some monsters. I raised the idea that we'll be dealing with ash zombies. I'm still not sure about that, to be honest, but I mean, this creature, I couldn't really say what else it could be. It does very much look like a zombie made from ash. You can see sort of like burning embers inside of it. So perhaps there was some sort of resurgence with the explosion of the volcano on Red Mountain. Although it looks nothing like the old Morrowind version of what an ash zombie is, I think that is actually what we're looking at here. Now, I did briefly cover this about having possible Hermaeus Mora cultists. For all argument's sake, let's just say that they're cultists. I believe that they have some link and association with both Hermaeus Mora and with the Dragonborn himself. The reason why I think he has a link with Hermaeus Mora is because of the masks, with their sort of tentacly, sort of octopus-like shaped mask. Now, the reason I believe that they have an association with the Dragonborn in this DLC is because if you actually look at the mask of the Dragonborn, it has a sort of tentacle shape. Also, if you look at the arms of the Dragonborn, we see here that on the braces we have some sort of scaling, and on the pauldrons as well we've got scaling as well. And when we consider the cultist again, you can actually see on the arms we've got braces, scaling braces. So I mean, that's a rather similar looking setup, so I would say that they were associated. Next, we've got the bull netch. Nothing really very exciting about a bull netch. I wonder if we'll actually see a Betty netch. To be honest, I think it's a nice tip of the hat, a little nod and a wink. The only thing that I would say is that actually in the game Morrowind itself, well, in Blood Moon, you actually never saw a bull netch on the island of Stalhrim. Although saying that, they could have migrated after the catastrophic happenings with the Red Mountain. Some people have said that this creature here that we're looking at is an ascended sleeper. Now, much in the same way that the ash zombie that we suspect is an ash zombie in this DLC doesn't look very much like the ash zombie of what it did in Morrowind, this creature here could be an ascended sleeper, although it looks sort of not too much quite like what it did in Morrowind. Now, obviously, the developers and designers can take artistic license. To be honest, if it is an ascended sleeper, it does look better. There are some similarities I can see. There's the tentacly face, there's the long sort of robes. However, beyond really without too much more information, I think it's a little bit speculative to say that this would be an ascended sleeper. There may be some sort of resurgence, perhaps even Hermaeus Mora abducted them when Dagoth died. Who knows? It may not even be an ascended sleeper, but I sort of think it might be. Anyway, let's move on. We've got two sets of armor to have a little look at. In the trailer video, we did actually see Stalhrim Armour. Not many people spotted it, but I did. Haha, although I didn't mention it vocally, but there wasn't so much I could really talk about. It was like a split second, but we do have a picture of it, a nice still picture, but you can't really see very well, but you can see the sort of style that they're going for. As for those of you who don't know, Stalhrim is a special type of ice. In the game Blood Moon, you were able to collect the ice from the Nordic tombs, and you were able to fashion it by the help of a special forge smith into special weapons and armor. You weren't actually able to do it yourself, but I don't know if Skyrim will give you that ability. The next set of armor that we're looking at is bonemold armor. For those of you who don't know, bonemold armor generally comes with multiple helmet types, depending on the caste, or the house, I should say, of Dumna that's wearing it. For this particular setup here, we can see we were going to discuss actually that this architecture is Redoran. So I'm assuming that this guy here will be a Redoran guard and that the helmet will be matching, although it does look quite like the Redoran guard's helmets from Morrowind. So actually that adds credence to my argument that I'm about to make about Redoran architecture itself. Now anyway, I've already mentioned this now, but let's talk about the architecture. I've mentioned it in my last video analyzing the trailer, but I wanted to analyze it a little bit more, just to do a bit of a comparison, because I didn't before. As you can see, this architecture here is very similar to the architecture you can find in Redoran settlements. I think one of the major examples of that is Alderun, a major settlement or town or city in Vardenfell, as you can see here. Also, we've got an image of inside one of the buildings, and this also has a lot of similarities to internal structures of Redoran buildings, as we can see here. Compare them. There's another thing that I want to highlight. There's a few pictures and scenes that I've seen in the trailer and in the images that have been released, and they don't look like anything, but I don't think they're releasing these images for nothing. I want to talk about the strange constructions. If you have a little look at the way that they are being built, the architecture, you can see the scaffolding here. So that means that they're in the process of being built, and it's not that they've been long established and built a long time ago. There's actually similar looking structures with similar architectures being built around the standing stones too, as I discussed in my last video. The reason I want you to pay attention to the archways and the architecture is that if you actually go and look at the images of what I feel are the realm of Apocrypha, you'll notice that the architecture is pretty much identical. I believe that this Here, these structures are being built possibly by the cultists and have some sort of link to the realm of Apocrypha. There's not too much more for me to say really on this subject. We've got a nice picture of somebody riding on a dragon. Nothing that at least I noticed that's particularly different about this picture. The only thing that I noticed is that the guy, if we zoom in extra far and really smudge them pixels, he's got some sort of summoning spell in his hand. Not too much to say about that picture, just looks cool. Anyway, and then last but not least, a boring picture of Nords standing in front of a fire, wearing very extra looking padded stuff. It must be cold up in there in Stalhrim. They're cooking some fish, and that's about it. I've looked at this image to try and see if there's anything that they're really saying about it, but I can't really see anything, so I think we'll leave it there. If you do spot something that I've completely missed, I would appreciate you telling me, but I don't think there is. I think they're just setting the scene to say, actually, on Stalhrim, it's not all dark elves and cultists of Hermaeus Mora. There's also the Nord still there. Anyway, so that concludes my analysis of the screenshots that have been released. I very much appreciate your audience. Thank you very much for listening and giving me your attention. If you're not already subscribed, I'd recommend that you do so. I produce videos like this on a regular basis. And if you are already subscribed, again, I thank you very much for your loyalty and your audience yet again. Thank you very much. And that's it for today. So when we come back, there'll be some more Skyrim, more Dawnguard, more me, more game stuff. But that'll be for then. Okay, guys. So until then, stay safe, take care of yourself. Goodbye.